And welcome to Alyssa Jean's Reviews, and welcome to my review for Star Wars Ahsoka Season 1, Episode 7, Dreams and Madness. This video will be filled with spoilers if you have not seen up through the end of the episode I just mentioned. So, I don't know. I wonder if everyone's going to say this is the greatest episode in Star Wars like they were saying last week. So last week I was like, oh, this is a good setup episode. It's a good episode to move the story forward, but clearly not as good as the previous 2 weeks. And then so many other reviewers were like, this is the best episode I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, okay, I just thought it was a setup episode. Finally, watched my brother's review for a little sanity. I was like, yeah, he's on the same page. This was clearly a setup episode, right? I wasn't crazy. Not that it was bad. I gave it an 8 out of 10. But there were definitely some best episode of the series responses that I was not expecting. So I wonder if this episode will get the same kind of responses, because I feel similarly to it. In fact, I wasn't sure how I really felt about it after it finished, except for I need to see the finale first, really, to fully judge this, because I feel like this is just kind of maybe a piece of that finale. I don't think it's officially a part 1. It's part 7 of season 1. They don't do 2-parters the way Star Trek does, but it does feel like maybe the first piece of that finale. So kind of feels incomplete. Like, I don't know how to rate this or how I really feel about it without having seen that last part. But it was good. It was good. I'm just curious if people get to say this is the greatest thing they've ever seen, because I won't go that. I still think episodes 4 and 5 were the peak of the season to this point. And this one, yeah, I gotta see that finale before I can fully judge it. But certainly there's some really cool things in here, some really badass things in here. But yeah, I don't know really how to judge this one just quite yet. So let me just go ahead and go through some of the highlights of this episode. All right, let's start with that opening scene where we go back to the original Galaxy Far, Far Away, the one that we are familiar with, where we have left Hera behind. And, kind of left it looking like she's in big trouble. Of course she's not going to be. Of course not. So let's not bury the lead. Let's get to the big thing that happened here that everybody will be talking about, and that is obviously the reference to Mandalorian Season 3, which definitively proves that this takes place after the Mandalorian Season 3. I get so sick of hearing all these weird timelines from all these other YouTubers who I rely on, and I'm like, oh, they must know what they're talking about because they're more connected to the sources than I am. And at first I heard that this was taking place right after Mandalorian Season 2, and therefore before the Book of Boba Fett and before Mandalorian Season 3, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me, but all these people are saying that on the YouTube, so I guess that's true, but I doubt that seems weird. Then I heard one of the channels corrected themselves and said, oh no, I'm sorry, it wasn't right after Season 2. It is Dave Filoni has now officially confirmed that this is taking place concurrently with The Mandalorian Season 3. And I thought, okay, how does that make sense? Because Carson was in both of those. So how could this be concurrent? And then here we hear Carson say, what about the battle at Mandalore? And they reference Gideon. Oh, that one dude is like, oh, Gideon was just a fluke or whatever. So clearly this had to have been taking place after the 3rd season of The Mandalorian, which is what I would have assumed to begin with. If no one had said anything, I just would have assumed this is taking place after the Mandalorian Season 3. Of course it is, because it came out in that order. But then, no, all these people had to confuse me by coming up with these crazy timelines that were not true. This was after The Mandalorian Season 3. Obviously, that's the thing everybody cares about from this scene. So I'm joking. Obviously, the thing that people probably most talk about and get excited about is the C-3PO cameo, and yeah, it was nice. It was cool. I don't know. I feel like C-3PO and R2-D2 have been in every Star Wars show. They haven't been in every one, but for a little while they were in all of the cartoons, all the animated shows. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's good. It's cool. Yeah, I don't dislike it. Yeah, it's cool. I'm not gonna get all excited about it. I'm like, oh my god, C-3PO. Yeah, he's in all the shows. So it's fine. I feel like if Carrie Fisher was still with us, they probably would have had Princess Leia herself show up there, but they weren't going to do the old bring people back from life with CGI thing like they did with the Grand Moff Tarkin thing. They weren't going to do that thing again, so they just had C-3PO represent her, which was nice. It was cool. I'm not going to get super excited about it, but it was cool. And once again, we see Princess Leia is really sticking her neck out for Senator Leia, I should say. Is really sticking her neck out for Hera, and I wonder again what kind of relationship they have, because I don't know how much of a connection they had in that one Rebels episode that she appeared in. I can't remember if Hera was even in that. I remember Ezra was connecting with her, but then certainly they didn't connect on screen beyond that episode. So apparently, off screen they have a relationship where Leia is sticking up for her. And as I mentioned previously, we do know that Leia eventually is going to go against the New Republic herself and join the Resistance, or she even starts the Resistance, I think, later on when the First Order comes around. So totally tracks that Leia would also be watching out for the reemergence of the Empire. So that all tracks. So yeah, that was cool. Then we get into the meat of the story. We pick up with Ahsoka and Huyang, who we had only seen briefly in the previous episode. They arrive, and then they arrive to all these mines. And I love how Huyang was like, oh, at least the whales are protecting us. And then the whales took off, and Ahsoka was like, you had to say something, didn't you? And he's like, I was trying to be optimistic, which is good, because he usually isn't. Yeah, that was all good. That was fun. Of course, Thrawn had been warned by the Night Mothers, the witches, that Ahsoka was on her way, so they were prepared. So we go through all that, and I love seeing Thrawn scheming again. I love Thrawn saying, we're going to be one step ahead of them, because that's what he was. He was always one step ahead of everybody. So I love that. I love the Thrawn scenes a lot. I love seeing him just plot and scheme and just being so clever, and I love Thrawn as a villain. And then we get the reveal at the end, or this is a reveal to me, perhaps I missed it, perhaps other people picked up on it, that he's just trying to keep them distracted this whole time, and because they're close to building up power or whatever it was to get them back home, which maybe that was said in the previous episode and I missed it, but that was not clear to me until now. So to me, that was a cool reveal. I don't know if that was actually a reveal. But anyway, that's later in the episode. I'm getting ahead of myself. So we get Ahsoka kind of hiding in this debris field, and she reaches out with the Force to Sabine. She does the old Luke and Leia thing. Where Luke was hanging on that thing in the Cloud City, and he's like, Leia, and she's like, we have to go back for him. So they do that thing, the Force thing, and she's able to find Sabine and Ezra. Great to get a little more scenes with Ezra. I don't know why Ezra is not being more, not poking Sabine more about what's happening. Clearly she's hiding something, and he's being unreasonably patient with her. In my opinion, he's like, okay, guess she'll just tell me in her own time. Seems to be his attitude, and I feel like he should be poking her more. But the plot is not ready for Sabine to reveal that to him yet. Clearly, that's going to happen in the finale, where Ezra's going to find all that stuff out. But it was cool to see Ezra more in live action. We only got a bit of him last week. And really fucking cool to see him battle Shin without a lightsaber. And she had a lightsaber. First I was like, take the lightsaber. That's your lightsaber. I want to see Ezra with the lightsaber. But he's like, nah, I'm cool. That's yours. I got this. Like, he's... I guess he got used to fighting without a lightsaber since Sabine had his. So he's probably learned some things. And so that was really cool. I thought, especially his confrontation with Shin when she had a lightsaber and he didn't. I thought that was pretty badass. So Ahsoka has reached out to Force. She arrives, but she's intercepted first by Baylan. Now, what is the deal with Baylan? Like, what is this deal? Like, when are we going to find this out? And we got to find out next week. We only have 1 week left. Because he gives this whole speech to Shin where he's like, you go ahead and join your little empire. I have my own path to do. And then he stands there and watches them. And then Ahsoka comes and he's like, I cannot let you interfere. So whatever they were doing, he needed Shin and the stormtroopers to defeat Ezra and Sabine, or Ezra and Sabine at that point. He needed that to happen, and he said, I don't want you to interfere. So if that's the case, why didn't he just fucking go with Shen to help her, and then go off and do his own path, whatever it was? Like, why was he just standing there? I was so confused. Like, what does he do? What's his deal? So, I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm going to be disappointed if this isn't, like, something really interesting. So I'm expecting it to be something really interesting. So if it's not, I'm probably going to be disappointed. But I'm just super curious what he is trying to do. What is his goal? What's his end game? Why did he need Ahsoka to stay out of this and for Shin to be successful, and yet was not willing to go with Shin in the first place? So I don't know what's happening here. Very curious about this. But anyway, Ahsoka ultimately is able to get away from Baylan. He's like, you will never defeat me. She's like, I don't have to. And then Hu Yang comes down with the ship and all those other fighters shooting after him to kind of provide cover for Ahsoka to get away. And steals Baylan's wolf thingy that he was riding, which is cool. Great lightsaber battle, by the way. I love the Ahsoka versus Baylan battles. Really cool. She goes and helps out Ezra and Sabine, and then we get the reveal I talked about with Thrawn's like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. We're about to leave, and they're all going to be stuck here, so whatever. So I don't know. I've heard these rumors, unconfirmed, that this is going to be like the Empire Strikes Back of the Filoni-verse, in that it's going to end with the bad guys winning and Thrawn's going to come out on top. So I think he's going to have to get back to the main galaxy. But my question is, what of Ezra and Sabine and Ahsoka? Are we going to be left on a cliffhanger with them stuck in the other galaxy that has to be resolved at some future point, or what? Because this can happen now that it has been confirmed that this is post season 3 of The Mandalorian, which I always thought it was. People confusing me on the YouTube saying, oh no, this is before the Book of Boba Fett, so we know she's still going to go see Luke. And I'm like, I don't know if that's true. Anyways, I'm so glad that isn't true, because now we don't know what's going to happen. So Ahsoka and Sabine and Ezra's fates are all up in the air. So I'm on on the edge of my seat. I want to know what happens. I really want to see this finale. Part of me is definitely in fear that it's going to be a disappointment. But I'm really looking forward to it. They've really got me hooked on this show. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention the Anakin cameo. We had heard before, or at least I had heard the scuttle that this wasn't the last. We were seeing Hayden Christensen, that he was coming back in some form, but maybe a different form, and it's the hologram. We'd actually heard some of those lines in the preseason trailer. So I actually thought that was a really cool scene as well. Ahsoka training with the motivational speech from Anakin. That was pretty cool. I like that. Anyways, so that does it for my review for this week's episode, Dreams and Madness. So let me go ahead and give my rating out of 10. So my rating out of 10, with 1 being the lowest possible score, 10 being the highest possible score. I don't know. This is tough without seeing the finale. I'm just going to go with an 8. I think a good old reliable 8. That's kind of what I do when I'm not really sure. When I like an episode, but it's not a 9 or a 10, and I'm not really sure what to give it. 8. We'll go with a solid 8. Maybe the finale raises it up in retrospect. Who knows? But right now I'll go for an 8. Still love this show. Still can't wait to see what the finale brings. Hopefully it doesn't disappoint me. I'm so used to disappointment in today's day and age, especially with Disney Plus shows. But hopefully it sticks the landing, because this has been a great show so far, and I hope it finishes that way. And I will tell you what I think next week in my review, so please subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you really soon. Goodbye.